Creating an AI song playlist that tells a story. This time we're going to be making AI images that go along with our AI songs. So get ready and some coffee because the rockin' ain't stopping once we start building beats with our AI app. Last time we left off with our Iliad playlist, and we could stop there being content to have our playlist in order, being able to basically listen through in song format the major plot points of the story, possibly also being able to share the playlist with others, but we're not satisfied with that here. We want to take it a step further, making it into a video type of format presentation, including images that can accentuate the story in a little bit more glory. So that's what we're going to be doing here using the AI images. Let's do a quick recap of what we have done thus far. So we used our Suno Music AI song creator, and you can use a similar system, I would think, with other types of AI song creation as well. At this point in time, this one is working well. So that's the one I'm using and would recommend. They're not paying me or anything. That's just the one that I am liking at this point in time. We want to be putting the prompts in there to be telling us a story. To do that, we went into some kind of text AI generator like a ChatGTP or possibly a Perplexity. We told the ChatGTP to give us a background story of the Iliad chapter 1 so that we can get a song kind of playlist, getting the major beats of each chapter in play. We told it to just give us the story bit or the summary of the plot points, and it's going to look something like this, right? So we have these summary plot points, which we use as our seeds to prompt the Suno Music creator, which already has, you would think, the Iliad in its AI mind, so it can expand on the story, pulling in the themes and what we're supposed to be feeling from that plot point, possibly making a song out of it, which is nice. Once we had those, we then added them to our library over here, making a playlist format so we can put it in the proper order. And we made then the Iliad playlist. So we had this one. And so now we have it in the proper order in this format. Then we downloaded it from here into our folder. So we have MP3 files at this point in time in our folder, which I could, of course, pull into editing software. We numbered them so they are in the proper order. That's great. But once they're in the editing software, we also need images on top of it. So I'm going to go at this point in time, before we even pull it into the editing software, to build the images based on this information. Now, I have the information here. I have the song title and the seed we used to build it, but I also have that in my Word document. So I'm going to use my Word document, which has the number, the song title, and then the seed that we used to build it. So then we can choose an AI art generator to basically build it. And there's many out there, so just a quick recap of a couple AI art generators. You could try to use a ChatGTP, but you would have to use the paid version. So if you're paying for ChatGTP, you could type in there the seed and say, give me an image for that seed and so on. You might have Copilot, which I believe has an AI art generator as well if you have Microsoft Office. And then I am currently using Midjourney, which is one of the early adopters that were kind of on the cusp when it was coming out of the AI images. It might not be like the go-to place at this point in time, but I still am appreciating it. But this one you usually have to pay for. I think it has a free version, and then you might be limited, so you can check that one out as well. I'm going to use it though because I'm able to customize these AI images by basically training it to what my eye kind of likes. So the images that it comes out with are images that are kind of to my, I guess, visual palette appeasing sensibilities, which is nice. Whereas the other AI images, when I put stuff into like a ChatGTP, I don't know what it's going to do, right? It'll come up, and then I try to tell it, you could tell it the theme, and like what style. So sometimes I always go to the anime style. So I try to tell it, give me a Japanese anime action style, and so on. And then it does that. But this one, I'm able to train it so that it gives me images that I like the color palette, and that it's real looking, but not super realism. It kind of still has an artsy feel to it to me. So and I just did that by picking. If you train the AI, you could pick the pictures that you like and whatever. So I like Midjourney, so we'll use this one. And it also, with each prompt, it gives you 4 outcomes, which is great, because then I might want to have multiple images that I can sort through when I add them to my editing software. Now note, a couple strategies for adding it to the editing software. You might just say, hey, look, I'm just going to use the theme. Whatever the theme is for my seed, and whatever the AI generator gives me, I'll basically use that, because it's something. I don't need to get too detailed on it. And you might just use one image. One image might work, because remember, the song is going to be anywhere from like 2 to 4 minutes long. So even if you just have one image, you could animate it by just, usually the simple animation is going from small to large. So you can take one image, possibly go from small to large, and then large back down to small. We'll talk about that animation next time. But you can actually do a lot with one image, particularly if it was like a map or something like that, had a lot of detail in the image. Because these images are pretty high resolution for these AI images, you can zoom into it without it getting too pixelated. So you can zoom pretty far. Like I can zoom all the way into this guy's face, right? And it looks like a solid picture still, because of the quality of the pixelations, I believe. And then I can zoom all the way back out again. So I can zoom into all these guys' faces and whatnot. So I can easily spend 4 minutes just exploring this picture, right? So that's kind of nice. So you could just use one image, and that would be the simplest way to do, and then add some simple animation per video, which would just be zooming around, in my opinion. I think that's the coolest animation to do. Or you can add one prompt, and then if it spits out 4 different images, then I could just take those 4 different images, and I have about a 3 to 4 minute song that it's going to build. So that gives me about an image per minute, which once again, I can then zoom in or out to those particular images, which will give me some animation. Now, the images, of course, then aren't going to follow along with every line of the song. That would take a lot more time. You could do that. You could customize it by trying to pick each line of the song and create a much cooler image. So I'm going to try to be somewhere in the middle, right? I'm not going to do the easiest thing, which would be just one prompt, and then I'll have one image that I'll just zoom in. You could do that. That'd be totally fine. And I'm not going to get too detailed trying to look at each line of the song and line up the image to each line of the song, because again, that's a little too detailed for what I would want to do. I'm going to go somewhere in the middle, try to choose 4 images that basically tell a story of the song, the gist of the song. If I can get a narrative of the 4 images that tell kind of the story, great. If I get 4 images that just represent the story, then I'll do that, and I'm not going to get too detailed in the weeds on it. All right, so that's going to be the general strategy. So one way I could do this is I could just copy the seed, right? So here's the first song. I'm going to copy the seed, and I can go over here, and usually I paste the seed because I want it to do that first, and then after the seed, I'm going to say that this comes from the Iliad, which I keep spelling wrong, so I'll copy it over here if I could copy it. So I'm going to say it comes from the Iliad Book 1 theme. So I'm always going to say it's the Iliad Book 1 theme, so hopefully this AI has that information in it. Now, it's less likely that the image AI has all this all the information from the Iliad, right? It's more likely that if you're doing it like a song, like a song-based thing over here, or if you're doing a text AI, that it's going to be prompted with all of the classic works, which would include the classic books like the Iliad. So you would expect these kind of AIs would be heavily prompted with things like the Iliad. when you get into like the art AI, who knows what they use to prompt it, because it's not going to be text prompting. They're going to use a bunch of images, and there aren't as many images out there of the story of the Iliad as there are people writing about the story of the Iliad, right? So you're going to have to be a little bit more specific. By the way, when I entered the prompts into the song generator over here, I can't remember if I even put, usually I would put into the title before I put the seed that this is from the Iliad Book 1. And I don't think I even did that for a lot of them. And it still knew that it was from the Iliad just from the seed, right? So I would usually, when I do these prompts, add that in there. That's what I have been doing before. And I think I forgot to do that last time. And it still worked because the system was clearly like, oh yeah, that's the Iliad chapter 1, middle of the text, blah, blah, and it knew it, right? Again, the AI images are less likely to do that. So let's see what it comes up with if I put this in here and see what it does. Now, I'm not an Iliad, expert here, but these look pretty good, right? You got, we've got some Greek-looking people, right? So that are looking yoked up and everything. That's going to be appeasing to the eye for most people, right? So I'm going to say, okay. So that's going to be the general outline. So that's great. So I could just add those 4 images and say, well, that's going to give me something that will appease the eye to some degree, especially if I added animation just with those 4 images, and whatever it gives me, maybe I just use that and whatever. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. Or I could say, well, let me go through the songs. And this is why I kind of like having the 2 songs in each of the playlists. So I'm going to go back in the library, go into my playlist, and then I can go into my the Iliad here, and then usually I listen to this like while I'm doing it, like I would listen to it, and then I've got 2 repeats of the song to get the images, and right, and so I kind of like that because then it helps me to I use this kind of as a learning tool just for myself, to learn the story. And so as I'm making the images, I can listen to the song, I can copy the lyrics over here, and then maybe I put this into a ChatGPT or a Perplexity. Might even be better this time to use Perplexity, because Perplexity will give us possibly the references. So what is this song about? And we'll just say boom, see what it does. Let's do ChatGPT as it's thinking here as well. What is this song from? Let's say boom. And then over here it says, this song narrates the mythological tale of Apollo's wrath as depicted in the ancient Greek mythology, particularly drawing on the events in Homer's Iliad. It focuses on Apollo, the god of music, prophecy, and plague, unleashing his anger upon the Greeks. Okay, Apollo's divine wrath. Okay, mythology context. The song is rooted in Book 1 of the Iliad, where Apollo punishes the Greeks for Agamemnon refusing to return Chrysis' daughter, whom he had taken as a war prize. So Apollo's fury, anger manifests through devastating plague until Agamemnon relents. So notice there's a little bit of a theme there, right? So I could say, okay, well then maybe at the start of the song, I'm just going to say that Apollo punishes the Greeks, right? I could just look for an image of Apollo being angry, right? And then I could do an image of Croesus' daughter being taken or something like that. And then Apollo's fury, whatever, right? Let's see what ChatGPT gives us over here. So it says this song is inspired by the opening scene. Specifically, it reflects the plague sent by Apollo upon the Greeks' army after dishonors Croesus, a Trojan priest of Apollo, by refusing to return his daughter. Croesus, in response, Apollo sends a plague described poetically as arrows raining down upon the Greek camp. So a recurring image in the song. All right, so, and then it gives us the actual lyrics. God of the lyre, let his anger sing. Apollo, the god of music and plague, responds with fury. So again, I could try to line up each of the lines in the song, right, to the image, but that's a little too tedious for my taste at this time. So I'm gonna do this one. Let's see. We have Croesus. Let's see if it Agamemnon dishonors Croesus. Let's see if this AI system knows that image. So I'm gonna use, so I can copy the seed over here, and I'm gonna keep the end bit of the Iliad, and then I'm just gonna redo this front bit and say, okay, let's type that in there and see what it does. And see, it doesn't know Croesus, right? So it doesn't have all, it's been prompted on artwork, not necessarily the themes of the Iliad like the text ones have. So it's like, man, that's a little disappointing. So let's say Agamemnon dishonors Croesus, doesn't know who Croesus is. So let's say Croesus, a beautiful woman, is taken by a Greek king. Beautiful woman. Let's see what it does with that. All right, so that's pretty cool. So now we've got, this one looks slightly more appropriate. There's a beautiful woman in it. That's gonna help our viewership a little bit, right? That'll boost the numbers up at least. So, what is, okay. I don't know. So this one's in color, but it's probably not the best one of the, this one. I don't know, let's do, I kind of like this one for some reason. Not sure exactly why, but let's do that one. So I'm gonna pull that one in even though it's black and white. That's gonna give us, it looks classy that way. It makes us look classy. So then let's see if I can get another bit of the story here and say, all right, what else you got? So specifically plague sent by Apollo. Let's do that. Plague by Apollo on the Greeks. Plague by Apollo. So I'm going to copy this one over and say plague by Apollo on the Greeks army at Troy. See, a little bit more specific. See if you could figure that out. Don't you know the Iliad, dude? What kind of AI are you? It's a classic of the Western canon, man. Uncultured. You're more of a barbarian than Achilles is. Okay. So I don't know if that is plague. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, I don't think. Plague sent by Apollo after dishonors a Trojan priest. Apollo sends a plague described poetically as arrows raining down upon. So what if I just did Apollo angry? How about that? Apollo angry. See if you can figure that out, you stupid AI. Apollo angry. Do you even know what that means? You even know who Apollo is? Oh, it's ridiculous. See, it's still like that doesn't look like Apollo's angry, does it? Like, what are you doing, man? Apollo, the Greek god, is angry. Angry. Okay, try that. I'm not sure capital letters help, by the way, but that was more for me because I'm angry. Then that looks kind of like a Greek god is angry, maybe. I don't know. Is that Apollo? I don't know. Apollo's angry. He should be like in the sky or something, I would think. Let's just do this guy. That looks kind of like a Greek god. At least in my mind. not an expert at this. But let's put that in play. All right. And then what else is in our story? dishonors the Trojan by refusing. In response, Apollo sends a plague, a recurring image in the song. Okay, well, let's just keep it like that. Let's say a plague. Let's try a plague. Describe poetically. Arrows poetically. Apollo sends a plague. Describe on the Greek camp. It's not going to see what it does with that. Sending arrows down. Apollo sent arrows down on the Greek camp. Maybe just... Alright. Oh, this image looks pretty good. I like that. That looks heavy. That looks plague-like. A Greek god plague-ish thing. Those mean Greek gods. I don't care about no one, man, but themselves. Alright, let's go down here and also do another Croesus one. Let's do this one. So I get 4 images. Oh, wait a sec. I have to pull this over here. So I get 4 images. So now I got my 4 images, and I'm just going to label them now with this so I can line it up to my song. So I want to put my images in order. So I'm going to say the first I want this one because I like that one the best. And it's the start of the story. So I put a 1 after it. So then I want this one, right click, rename, paste, and then I'll put a 2 after it. And then I want this one, right click, paste, and then a 3 after it. And then this one, right click, rename, paste, and a 4 after it. So it kind of tells a story, right? You got Croesus is taken or whatever, and then some god is mad, and then like plague stuff happens. So over a 4-minute song, I can zoom in and out on these 4 things, and hopefully that'll be somewhat pleasing to the eye and tell some kind of story, even if I get the images not exactly right, because I'll just blame it's the AI's fault. Stupid AI don't know what it's talking about. I gave it the right prompt. I know what I'm talking about, but it was like, it's too dumb. Okay. I know exactly what it was like in the... Okay, let's try this one. Father's Plea. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's do the next song. I'll just do one more maybe. So I'm going to copy this and say, all right, let's pull that over here. Give me the background story of this. I spelled it wrong. It'll still do it. Give me the background story. This song tells the emotional backstory of Croesus, a Trojan priestess of Apollo, during the opening of the Iliad, Book 1. Here's the story. Croesus is a priest of the god Apollo. Daughter has captured during... We already know that. A song we hear Croesus pleading to Agamemnon to release the daughter. So Croesus, did I say... I thought Croesus was... the lady. That's probably why the thing was confused. Croesus is the priest, dude. Okay, in the song. Croesus, prospective pleading with Agamemnon. All right, let's do that then. Let's do that image. Okay, let's try that. Let's see if it knows who Croesus is better than I do. I'm not sure. So I have this right? In the song where Croesus, perspective, pleading with Ag to release his daughter. So Croesus is a priest. So let's say Croesus, a priest of the sun god, small g, talks to King of the Greeks. Let's try that. All right, so this one looks, at least he doesn't look like a warrior. He looks more like priest-like here, talking to some Greek dude. So that looks, so let's, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's copy another one of these images with the lady down here that was taken. Maybe this one. So she's been taken as a prize. Dang chauvinist culture. I'm going to download this one. Patriarchy. And then we'll show this one where he's the dad who's the priest of the sun god is like, dude, Agamemnon, you can't just be rolling in here taking priestesses out of the sun god temple. I'll be talking to Zeus and you're going to be sorry. And then, so in the song we hear pleading, so he approaches Greek camp, offers a rich ransom. So, but Agamemnon, full of pride and arrogance, cruelly refuses, but not only insults him and sends him away. So wounded Croesus pays Apollo, asking God to punish the Greeks. Croesus prays to Apollo. Let's try that. Let's do that one. Croesus prays to it. It doesn't know who Croesus is. I didn't know who he was either, to be honest. Apparently he's a pretty famous priest back in the day of the sun god in the Troy era. All right, this one is okay. But I kind of wanted to see the god, but maybe that's okay. I'll go with that one. Of Apollo. Let's see this one. All right. So then Apollo gets mad, punish the Greeks. Apollo hears his priest cry response by sending deadly plague. So let's try to say Apollo's mad again, because I tried to do that last time, and it's like I was disappointed with the results. You could do better. To see, this guy was okay. Let's try to do this one again. Do better. Apollo, the Greek god, is angry. Angry god. All right. That should be very scary. All right. I don't know. Does that look like a god? Kind of. Looks like a dude. It's not a god. This guy looks kind of like a god, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Shouldn't he have, like, he should be in the sky or something. I don't know. I feel like it. Whatever. I'm just going to do this one. We're running long on time. I feel like you need more training, AI. You need more training in the classics, man. You're less cultured than Achilles. You don't even know what the gods are. You can't even. Savages. All right, let's say. Now I'm going to put this in order. So let's say this one's the first one again. So I'm going to paste 2, and then I'll put a 1 after it. And then I'll say this one. And then this one, right click, rename, paste, and put a 2 after that one. And then right click, and then this guy prays to the god with a 3 after it. And then then the god is pissed. Plague's gonna happen. You straight up mess with the wrong priest. I know Apollo personally, idiot. You're gonna be sorry. All right. So now we have it in order here. So now so you see the general theme. So it kind of takes a while to do it that way, because I could just give whatever it gives me. It looks Greekish, and I could just use that. But you can see I kind of get the story down a little bit more, because obviously I'm not an expert on the Iliad, so I'm kind of something interested to learn a little bit more about. So when you pick the images, it's kind of useful, because then you have to actually say, well, that's not what I was envisioning in my mind when I was when I was doing. Is it me that's wrong or is it you? I thought Croesus, is that a dude or a woman's or man's name? I can't even. I don't even really know. So that really like the story. So a lot of those things that you might not even like when you're just reading the book, you're just like just whatever. I'll just keep going. When you kind of try to make an image out of it that you're going to fit into a song narrative, you're like, wait a sec, I'm going to have to think about this a little bit more. I don't know. So it's kind of so even if it's totally wrong, at least it helps you to kind of think through it a little bit more. So I kind of like that process. And you can do this while you're listening to the song and try to make the image and then read in a little bit about the text. So I kind of like that. But anyways, I'll keep going on my own, possibly make some more images. And then once I'm done with that, we'll pull them in to the software, which I'm going to use Camtasia, but you can use other software. And then I'll put some animation in on it so that we can, make it into a movie.